Today we are going to talk about evolution and how species evolve over time. First, let's take a look at the definition of evolution. Evolution is the process by which a population of organisms change over time to better survive and reproduce in their environments. For these changes to occur, there has to be something for this change to act upon and be passed to future generations. This is where DNA comes in. DNA is a long strand of genetic code that coils upon itself to make chromosomes. Each chromosome carries genes, and together they make up an organism's genome. The genome is a complete set of genes or genetic material present in a cell or organism. Genes are small fragments of genetic material located on a chromosome that, when duplicated, becomes a sister chromatid. In a diploid organism, like humans and some plants, these sister chromatids are then paired together in a homolog, and they are responsible for gene expression. That is to say, genes are what determines the color, shape, or numbers of petals on a flower. In organisms like humans and some flowering plants, each organism will have two copies of each gene. Since there are two copies, they can have variation. These are referred to as alleles. If you have two of the same allele, this is known as being homozygous. If you have one copy of each allele, this is known as being heterozygous. Now, these alleles can be dominant, notated here by a capital B, or recessive, notated by a lowercase b. And dominant alleles can have either complete or incomplete dominance. In complete dominance, you will see that only one copy of that dominant allele is required for gene expression. For example, in these example flowers, we have a capital B and a lowercase b. The dominant allele codes for pink petals, while the recessive codes for blue. We can see that both heterozygous flowers and the homozygous dominant flower are pink, with the homozygous recessive flower having blue petals. When looking at incomplete dominance, we see the same expression in the homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive flowers, with the homozygous dominant being pink and the homozygous recessive being blue. But the heterozygous are purple instead of pink, and this happens because our dominant allele has incomplete dominance, which allows for the partial expression of that recessive allele. So then, how do we get new expressions? Well, the answer is mutations. Mutations are changes in the genetic code that occur randomly during replication. These can happen during recombination, translation, or transcription of any cell type. These changes can lead to new and complex features. However, they must be able to be passed down to offspring through germ cells. Germ cells are cells that will develop into gametes, or the reproductive cells such as sperm and egg. No matter how beneficial a mutation is, if the mutation occurs in the somatic cells, or the cells that do not develop into gametes, it is not able to be passed down to future offspring, and this trait will be lost once the individual inevitably dies. There are two categories of mutations, synonymous and non-synonymous. In synonymous mutation, the codon that changes does not result in a new amino acid or a change to the DNA sequence. Therefore, non-synonymous mutation refers to a change in codons that results in a new amino acid and changes the DNA sequence. Here we will be looking at three types of non-synonymous mutations, which are harmful mutations, beneficial, and neutral mutations. Harmful mutations are mutations that decrease the survival of an organism. This could be a mutation that is lethal, results in the death of the individual, or inhibits mating. Beneficial mutations help to increase the survival of an individual by increasing their evolutionary fitness or survival. This can look like a change in color that leads to increased pollination, changes in fur type, or numbers of petals. Neutral mutations are mutations that neither increase nor decrease the likelihood of survival. So maybe a color change does not affect whether or not the individual is successful at gathering resources or attracting a mate. Let's take a look at Pacificus rhodintius to help us explore this. This hypothetical species of mouse is found along the beaches of the Pacific Ocean and has been seen foraging in the ocean for various seagrasses and small crustaceans. Let's take a closer look at one of our populations. Here we see a wild-type parent has produced 3 wild-type offspring. The next generation is born, and they have what appears to be 2 new mutations. One mouse has a green belly with the wild-type fur on their back, and the other mutated mouse appears to have the same wild-type fur on their back, but their belly is much lighter. Both of these mutations could be beneficial or harmful, so let's look to Generation 3. Generation 3 appears to have the wild-type and lighter mutation, but where did the green-bellied mice go? This could be an indication that the green mutation is a harmful mutation. However, it could also have been from random chance that he died. If this mutation arises again, we may be able to determine if this is actually harmful. Since the white-bellied gene has been passed on, we can hypothesize that this is either a beneficial or neutral mutation. If we look to Generation 4, we see the wild-type, the white-bellied mutation, and a new darker fur color on the back. There does not appear to be more white bellies. There is only one in this batch. If we look to the next generation, we see 2 wild-type, 2 white-belly, and 2 dark-body mice. When Generation 6 comes along, we can see there are 2 wild-type, 1 white-belly, and 4 dark mice. This could mean that the white-belly mutation is a neutral mutation, as it does not seem to increase or decrease the survival rate. However, the ratio of dark mice to the wild and light mice has shifted, so maybe this darker coloration is our beneficial mutation. If we move forward to Generation 7, we see the population has shifted even further, and the darker mice are now the majority of individuals. This helps to confirm that this mutation is our beneficial mutation. Next, we're going to learn about selection.